Hi, I'm Cliff Dunn, co-executive producer of Zealzaddy and dungeon master and creator of Zealots of Zool and the World of Zool campaign. I'm very excited to be joined by one of the Zealots of Zool himself and one of the stars of the cast, Jake Petrovsky, who will be playing Elexides, the Khoranian noble and expatriate. Welcome, and thanks for spending some time talking to us about your character and about the campaign. I'm going to let Jake expound a little bit about who Elexides is and what he represents in the campaign. Let me just give you a little bit of background. You know, as the world, my chair started to go down. As the as we expound and expose information about the campaign. Wow, that is really happening. We'll be okay.
Can only go so far.
Exactly. You know, don't tell that to Orson Welles. He could break this thing and we'd be looking straight up. So, one of the conceits of this campaign is that I wanted to really steer away from some of the fantasy conventions, elves and orcs and dwarves, all of which are fantastic and have been done to death in a lot of campaigns and in a lot of stories. So I wanted to really go back to pulp fiction, sword and sorcery antecedents that were really told human stories, every human culture possible, and of course in the works of Conan. In the Tarzan stories by Edgar Rice Burroughs, which had a lot of lost civilization, things in the storylines. You encountered cultures that were both alien to us in this modern age, but also familiar to anybody who was a student of history. And if you're a history geek like we are, you'll recognize some of these cultures. The Khoranian Empire, where Elexides hails from, is very similar in some ways. It's a mashup of the Parthian Empire, the Persian Empire, the ancient Akkadians, the Hittites, all of these militant Bronze Age empires of the Near East, which gained great power through their supremacy on mounted horseback, as the Khoranians will attest in the modern age of the campaign world. And also, as a storyteller, I like to tell stories that are both unique and interesting, but also have a familiarity. And one of the familiar tropes of both human storytelling, going back to Homer, and also our popular storytelling of popular heroic fiction, is the prince away from his country. Is the exiled, wandering, noble. And there have been examples of that in history and also in fiction. And Elexides is going to give us a little taste of that, as well as a taste of the intrigue and backstabbing of the highest levels of Khoranian culture.
Yeah, so Elexides is a character whose backstory is really driven by the intricacies of high society. So Elexides is from sort of the upper two castes of the caste system in the Khoranian Empire, by way of both his father and his mother. In that sense, it's very like Tudors style backstabbing, War of the Roses type of high noble families going against each other.
Right, factional politics and whatnot, and people who have vested interests by virtue of positions from their birth.
Correct. So the Khoranian Empire, if you will, is, it's the largest political power, at least in this part of Zool.
Right.
So being from that high society, there's always someone who has a target on your back, and there's always someone who's trying to gun for you for whatever reason they have. It's all politics, and to them, the ends justify the means. So Elexides, being of that high society, is going to bring some sort of noble characteristics to the campaign, but also I think that he'll be a little bit out of touch with the common people. So that'll be something else that's pretty interesting.
Right.
He also brings to the story a background in a more formal education than what you might expect from some of the other characters. So that's something that's going to be interesting to see. And overall, it's just going to be a blast. If you would like to tie him to any sort of typical historical figure that you might be familiar with, he might be a prodigal son who's somewhere in the vein of Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar in some respects. So expect to see him on the battlefield, expect to see him wielding weapons and throwing together strategies and tactics to help the rest of the Zealots make their way through the dangers of the wasteland.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is the stuff of great storytelling.